This is our presentation on Stop Line 3.
Hi, my name is Sophia.
I'm Chris.
I'm Caroline.
Stuart.
I'm Gus.
I'm Jack.
Okay, so what is Stop Line 3? Stop Line 3 was a proposed pipeline expansion that would transport tar sands from Alberta, Canada to Superior, Wisconsin. The protests began with the project's approval in 2016 and continue to this day despite its construction being completed in September of 2021. This is a somewhat local movement as it's confined to the impacted region in Minnesota. However, the movement gained national attention and support. These are the many ways that you can stay updated with the movement, their Instagram, Facebook, or website.
Where it began, the opposition to the building and development of Enbridge Energy's Line 3 pipeline in the United States is known as the Movement to Stop Line 3. The Line 3 crude oil pipeline transverses the ancestral lands of several Indigenous nations as it travels from Alberta, Canada to Superior, Wisconsin. The Line 3 pipeline directly affects a number of Indigenous nations, notably the Anishinaabe nations. Their treaty projected territories are crossed by the pipeline, and there are strong cultural, spiritual, and economic ties there. The difference of holy places, treaty rights, and indigenous sovereignty are fundamental to the fight against Line 3.
So this movement is led primarily by the Anishinaabe. They address three main issues. The first issue is the environmental impact this pipeline will have. The construction of the pipeline risks damaging sacred lands of the indigenous people, and oil spills pose a risk to all bodies of water in the immediate area. The second issue is treaty rights. The construction of the pipeline is outright illegal. It violates treaties that the natives have with the U.S. government. The Anishinaabe and other nations have not given consent to the construction of the pipeline, but they continue to build it anyway. The last issue is the impact that this pipeline will have on climate change. This pipeline encourages more extraction, transportation, and burning of fossil fuels. This pipeline is religiously significant because it is a direct threat to the indigenous sacred sites. Sacred land is being dug up and disturbed, which directly affects traditional ceremonies, practices, and native people's connection to their land. Climate change also hurts the environment around them.
For outside support, the protests surrounding the expansion of On-Bridge Line 3's oil pipeline began following the project's approval in November 2020. On-Bridge is a Canadian multinational fossil fuel company. While the protests are led primarily by Indigenous organizers and tribal governments, Stop Line 3 has received and welcomes any and all support and aid in their civil protest efforts to stop the pipeline. The pipeline expansion garnered attention nationally and was met in opposition from environmental protesters, several indigenous nations, as well as clean water activists. Some of the protesters' goals include the preservation of treaty rights, protection of both water and the climate, revocation of water permits, and ultimately the cancellation of the pipeline. Stop Line 3 websites encourages everyone to follow their social media pages to help stay up to date on the latest developments and find ways that they can help.
For action items currently on the Line 3 website, they have a petition that is to free the hundreds of water protectors that are currently facing criminal charges for protesting in favor of the rights of the Anishinaabe people. Under their Take Action section of their website, you can sign the statement of opposition that currently has over 64,000 signatures. There is also other options, like to write the Army Corps of Engineers, Jamie Pinkman, for a full federal environmental impact statement. There is also another option to write a personal letter to President Joe Biden. Lastly, you can donate money to Honor the Earth, an Indigenous-led group that uses Indigenous wisdom, music, art, and the media to raise awareness and support for Indigenous environmental issues.
So for the importance, we were asked what the extent of the organization of the Anishinaabe people, how they invite us to stand in solidarity despite lines of differences. So the main ones we see in this movement are things like or people or communities such as indigenous peoples, environmentalists, local landowners, and various other native activists, sorry. Right here, firstly, we see how we've talked about how distinct and diverse native tribes are despite distance or opinions. We see how they kind of form a coalition, and they know the importance of standing in solidarity, and they both tribes such as the Dakota and Navajos fight against the oppression. Also, alongside indigenous peoples, although they might have different motives, environmentalists also share the same opposition to the pipeline because of the inevitable damage to the land. Finally, we see how local landowners also stand in solidarity with them against the protest, with the protests of Line 3, with the Anishinaabe, and then also activists as well. And then we see how the union of individuals, groups, and communities who oppose the enormous Line 3 pipeline ultimately show us the importance of solidarity when it comes to not only indigenous struggles, but also the struggle of marginalized communities.
Thank you for listening to our presentation.